Hey, welcome to the Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey, and today I'm going to do a review of the movie RoboCop from 2014. I saw this way back. I couldn't tell you when, probably not long after it came out, maybe 4 or 5 years ago or something. And I don't remember it being an awful film, but I remember it rubbing me the wrong way. And I've pulled it up on my PC tower here and downloaded it, and I was going to watch it on my flat screen. And I was just perusing around, kind of like I'm doing here. There's the guy who plays RoboCop. He's a good actor. I like him. There's Gary Oldman. He's in this as the scientist who kind of makes RoboCop, or is among the team of scientists who makes RoboCop. He lives a normal life, and he goes after the bad guys as a cop. Somebody puts a bomb in his car, gets blown up, and he becomes RoboCop. And then he takes on the bad guys on the street. Gary Oldman is conflicted about what he's doing from ethical reasons and moral reasons. But then, just like in the movie, he kind of loses his shit. He looks sleek. This is a good-looking film. And there's some of the same political commentary about corporations, about ethics, putting a human brain inside a robot. There's Gary Oldman again. He's upset, going after the bad guys, and then he ends up exposing corruption within the city with them government. There's Samuel L. Jackson doing some Fox News commentary on Fox News and propaganda and how big money runs. Rupert Murdoch owns the corporations. Owns Fox News and has a lot of corporate investment, so you get a very corporate-friendly vision of the world. And then Alex Keaton plays the bad guy behind everything, so he's got a human brain. With the glare, I think you can see that on top, and a face, and like his right hand. And it gets in a little bit about Congress. There's Jackie Earl Haley, who is a really good actor. I didn't particularly care for him here. He becomes an experiment. He doesn't see his family for years while they figure out the tech, and then he gets back in touch with his family, just like in the original. There he is. It's, again, a good-looking film. And the visual aspects of it, the performances are... There's Jackie Earl Haley again. The performances are fair for what it is the actor's trying to do. Like Jackie Earl Haley here does a good job playing this kind of middle-of-the-road villain. He's not a nice guy. He's not behind everything. He's kind of like a henchman, but he's doing his job, but takes it a little too personal. And as a generic performance, Jackie does a fine job here. Everybody does. Gary Oldman. I wish I could remember the actor's name who plays RoboCop. He is a good actor. He does a good job here with the material he's got. So the performances are good. Writing in terms of structure, pacing, tone. It's a competently made film. It's so heavy-handed with his message, to the point where it's like, even though you've got a point, it layers it on too thick. Like, I agree with the point you're trying to make, but you're still laying it on way too thick to be entertaining. And when Paul Verhoeven made the first one, it was just schmaltzy enough to work. Like, there was the proper blend of ingredients. And here, it's like they added way too much salt. So this isn't necessarily a bad film, exactly. And the trick, of course, I don't remember this kid's name. He's a good actor. I like this guy. He just plays an accountant. He's one of the various staff. I don't know. He's got a role. There he is. That's all that's left of him after the explosion. All the tissue that survived. I didn't realize lungs were that big. That's just lungs. And he's a tall dude, so it's like, that's not impossible. How was I saying? But that's... I don't love it. I don't hate it. But that's what Paul Verhoeven got right, was that the ingredients were blended together properly. One thing that stands out here, too, is that the old RoboCop was in a dystopia. They lived in a very fall-apart thing. Some of this is shot in the suburbs. Like, that's really nice, clean-looking society. That's not dystopia. So that's something that's a little off. It's not a dystopian society that I can tell. It's not even like, shit, Alzheimer's is winning. That one from way back where, like, well, there's been no shortage of these, where part of the community is a ghetto and part of the community is really nice and upper class. Here, everything's like they're otherwise doing pretty well. Like, we've got to bring about robots to take on crime, but, you know, Homeland's doing fine. So again, you've got to, if this were a standalone film, I still wouldn't care for it too much, because it's just so heavy-handed and clearly partisan. And that's that's the difference between the 80s and stuff like The Simpsons and the 80s and the 90s and the political commentary at the time, and, you know, something like Married with Children, to what's going on now. Hollywood and the entertainment industry has always been heavily left-leaning, but like Jon Stewart versus the cheese dick who's in there now, there was equal criticism of the political left and the political right. The Simpsons would be just as critical as the Democrats as they would the Republicans, and maybe lean just a little bit, but it wasn't even so much partisan. RoboCop was a criticism of really kind of the system as a whole. You know, I'm going to have to go back and watch the original RoboCop again, but I don't remember it really being two Democrats versus Republicans. It was more about corporations, corporate greed, and the environment of corporate greed. Science gets carried away with what it's doing, type of thing. And what is the morality, after this man is technically dead, of making him a robot? You know, what moral violations, what moral lines have we crossed here? With what all the stuff that's going on today, with rare exception, it's so heavily on, like with this Samuel Jackson, it's all clearly Fox News, and it's like, even in 2014, there's Samuel Jackson. He's so clearly supposed to be Sean Hannity or Bill O'Reilly. It's like, dude, the left does the same shit the right is doing. The left, the Democrats are as just corporate horny as the Republicans. And CNN and MSNBC is just as biased and as slanted as Fox. So when you're equally critical, or at least fair in your criticism, okay, it's not wrong. This isn't a wholesale slander of Fox News, which is clearly the comparison, but it is, they blow it up to the point, and then it's just Fox News. So if it's like, here's the Fox News commentator doing what he's doing, clear-cut corporate propaganda, and then you cut over to the liberal commentator doing liberal propaganda, and you give that equal time and equal criticism, then I'm on board with this. But it's so left-leaning, biased, not necessarily pro-left, but it just exclusively comes down on the political right, as if that's the only problem here, which is nonsense. If it was just again, this is he's RoboCop going back to his house, and it's like, that's a shiny looking suburb. You know, that's not dystopian society. So there's something that maybe it's a fresh take, but it didn't feel right in the RoboCop world. So if this was a standalone, that shot would look fine. But when it's supposed to be RoboCop, it just feels off. But that's a minor gripe. If you want to do your own revision of RoboCop and update it with new technology, and which it could use, and they do well here. I mean, it looks fine to me. But it's just like, again, my biggest qualm isn't in cinematography or lighting or framing or story structure, all these things. It's just so heavy-handed. So whereas Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop had... Oh, that didn't look too hot, did it? Okay, so it's not perfect. But Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop had political commentary, but it had drama and it had moments of levity. And this is just so on the nose. It's not realistic. It's just too much to really work, to the point where it's off-putting. It's hard to get into this film. It's too realistic. And then here you got some political commentary about what's going on. So, of course, it's the little kid who's holding a knife because he's confused because there's been an explosion. He wasn't trying to hurt anybody. And the robot took him out. It's like, dude, it's too all one group of people's fault for everything, and everybody else is perfectly innocent, and that's nonsense. Like, why are we right for the United States to be overseas in the Middle East? I wouldn't do it. But if you know anything about the Muslim Brotherhood, like, you could see how they could be deserving of a schwacking. It's not one side is wrong and the other side is perfectly moralistic, which is what this is. It's old white men, and it's all white men's fault, and the same just commie nonsense. It's like, no, dude, the Democrats are just as corrupt as the Republicans. Liberals are just as messed up psychologically as conservatives. Everybody's, people of color in other countries have their murderers and their empires and their slavery and psychos too. It's like, it's not one side is evil and everybody else is sweet and perfect and innocent, which is what's going on here, or it's too close to what's going on here. It's like, everybody's got their flaws. And so I just, and I hate this movie. I just don't really care for it. So I was going to go back and watch it and do more of, go through the process and everything point by point, but I can't do it. It's, like you said, I like Jackie Earle Haley is my guy. The dude who plays RoboCop, I should really look up his name. Let me see if I can find it. Because he is a good actor. He was in I don't know if I can speak for his career, like the movies he's been in, but he himself is a good actor. Here we go, cast. Joel Kinnaman, I knew that. Joel Kinnaman is a talented actor. I like him. Gary Oldman, Michael Keaton, Abby Cornish, Jackie Earle Haley, Michael K. Williams, R.I.P., bro. Oh, that's, who is, yeah, it was Michael K. Williams. I thought he played a guy named John. This is a solid cast right here. Samuel L. Jackson, how can you complain? And they do, at the end of the movie, they go after the mayor, who's a black lady, and I believe like a liberal or a Democrat, more specifically, possibly. Okay. But it came down so hard on one side. It's like, look, everybody's got their assholes. The problem doesn't come just from one end of the political spectrum. So, and I guess it technically was in there, but it felt too imbalanced in its criticism and critique of society and way it portrayed things that it took me out of the film. So, I don't absolutely hate it. And there are some good parts, there's good components of the film. So, good cast, doing a good job acting. The film looks fine. It's not nails on the chalkboard in the worst way. It's not just awful to watch, but it just, again, the political commentary needs to be a dash of salt, not just salt. You're going to have a steak and some potatoes, with some greens, You know, maybe some macaroni and cheese in there, and a dash of salt. And this was like just the salt and not much else into it. It was just so heavy on it. So I've said that 15 times. I've made my point. RoboCop 2014. Unless you're a hardcore leftist, it's pretty. You've already seen it 52 times. There's nothing new here, and that's a shame because the original RoboCop was something different and unique. Even with similar ingredients, it was a different blend. It was brought to you a different way. So anyway, I'm out here. What do I got show? If you're still watching this, you like my stuff, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.